Assalamu alaikum viewers. Today we are discussing the arrest warrant issued by Iran of Mr. Trump and the request to Interpol to help them in this regard. So today we are joined by Mr. Hamidreza from Iran. He's a career journalist and an analyst. Uh, how are you, Hamidreza? Thank you for joining me today.
Hi there. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Uh, coming to straight to the question, it seems that Interpol is unlikely to grant Iranian request of Mr. Trump's arrest warrant. What are your views on it? What are Iranian objectives? Just give us a sense of and make our audience understand how Iranian objectives are going to be understood by the international community.
There is a general belief that international organizations are serving the benefits and interests of those hegemonic powers like the United States or Western countries. And in this case, it's not an exception. Iran is actually trying to either achieve what it wants or show the world that this hypocrisy is ruling the international organizations. What we are seeing that right now, that the Interpol says that it is not getting involved into political and military issues between the countries. But right now, and for many decades, we have had and already have Mr. Fallahian, who who is a former intelligence minister of Iran, on the red notice list on the website, and you can just check it right now on the website of the Interpol. So this shows the double standard that the Interpol is showing about the different issues. So when Iran is accused of something, they act to the will of the Western powers, and when Iran is the one who is demanding some guarding against that. Just let's get back to a couple of weeks ago. We had a apparently corrupted judge in Romania, and the Iranian Interpol asked for the incarceration of that person. And he was arrested by the Interpol, but immediately he was ruled to be freed. And then he was, let's say he was suicide, I can say that, noticing the grammar I know, but he was actually suicide. He was dropped out of the from height in a hotel, the hotel room he had, and apparently Iran is not benefiting from the death of that person, and that Interpol is not ready, and the Romanian, European people, European officials are not ready to hand the criminal to Iranian side. So shows that these rules and the claims that the Interpol and some other international organizations are claiming are not working for everyone. And that just reminds us of the Orwellian rule that everyone are equal to laws, but some are more equal, as you know.
Here are the complications. If Mr. Trump loses the election, his presidential election, then he won't be in a position that he is not today. So how you see this initiative will move further, or this arrest warrant will move further against Mr. Trump and the 35 others? How would it have implications on Iran and US relations in future?
The point is that it doesn't matter whether Mr. Trump is a president, current administration official, or is not. Based on the rules, based on the Interpol's performance in the past, we had Mr. Rafsanjani in office when he was on the notice by the Interpol about 3 decades ago. You can say 2-3 decades ago. So he was the president of Iran, and Interpol accepted the request and published a notice on him. So if the Interpol wants to act, it is the time to act. President Trump has admitted that he has given the order to kill an Iranian official who was on an official mission, political mission, by the invitation of the Iraqi government. And he was going there in a civil mission, and he has ordered to kill that in violating the integrity of the Iraqi country, and also killing an administration official from another country, a sovereign country. So there are all the necessary material for conviction and arrest of President Trump if the Interpol wants to do that. But the point is, so there is no difference whether President Trump is president or is a former president. Even right now, if Interpol wants to act, they can act.
So thank you for summing this up. But here the question comes: Iran attacked U.S. airbase in Iraq after the assassination of General Soleimani. But in response to that, and after there was a long silence, we have witnessed a long silence. How will you interpret this silence that from Iranian administration since from January to June?
That's understandable because first of all, we had the reaction that we had, and there were possibility of some conflicts and some military conflict between Iran and the United States after Iran targeted actually the Ain al-Assad camp. So there were possibilities of some military conflict. So they couldn't put this as a priority to do that. And after that, we faced this coronavirus situation, not only in Iran, but also the whole world. So it is understandable to me that because of the coronavirus, and we also had the new year in Iran, which we have about a month of this, and not very working completely. So because of that, those things, it is natural to have a delay in such an issue. And it needs some time to write the articles and things and do the legal text on that. So because of that, it seems natural to me. I'm not a legal person, I'm not a man of law, but to me, analytically, it sounds feasible and understandable. It takes a while to do all the paper job.
So coming to my last and the most important question, that Russians, Chinese, and EU, European countries, some of the European countries are doing business with Iran, and how you see this US will take it as in the future, because US is at the brink of losing her status of the only global power. How you see this all things, that Iran's foreign policy and Iran's relation with other countries will develop in future?
The United States is doing its best to prevent other countries to work with Iran. It's part of the maximum pressure campaign that they claim. And it's not going to last very long because the other countries know that they need Iran to cooperate with, and it's not like easy to just simply say, okay, let's ignore Iran, it's aside, and we are not working with that. It's a very important country in a very important region and very sensitive region in the world. We are neighbors, Iran and Pakistan are neighbors, and we understand how strategic this region is and how important countries like Iran, Pakistan, and Iraq are at the heart of the Middle East, which is the energy in the world. So it's not very easy to ignore it aside. And the maximum pressure campaign is fading away, as it has been actually fading away before assassination of General Soleimani, but the assassination somehow changed the game for a while. But now we are seeing that it's getting back, and the situation is that you cannot just put sanctions on everyone in the world. So it means just isolation of yourself, United States. You isolate everyone, they will be isolated themselves, actually. So that's the criticism that they are posing at President Trump right now, the Democrats especially. They say that he is isolating the United States, and it's the reality. Because Iran is the rational actor here. So the other countries cannot justify easily what happens, and just justify not working with Iran, putting pressure on Iran, or forcing Iran to do something. Like, for example, we are getting closer to the fifth anniversary of the JCPOA, on which date the arm embargo should be removed, and Iran should be able to sell or buy weapons. But they are the Americans and to some extent the Europeans are trying to postpone the deadline, to postpone the release or to extend the embargo. So they are actually using the Security Council to weaken the Security Council, to stop a very firm resolution of the United Nations Security Council. And by that, what will result will be either the a more weakening of an international body like the Security Council and the United Nations, or they should accept that. The public opinion in the world cannot accept that, okay, you have signed an agreement, a multilateral agreement confirmed by the United Nations Security Council with a resolution on that. And now when it comes to the moment, you say, okay, we cannot do that. In the public opinion, or every country can work on that. And that was what happened a couple of nights ago in the meeting that they had. And it was almost, you can say, it was only Mr. Pompeo who was saying that, and the other countries were not accepting it easily. Because all in all, within the JCPOA, something that has not benefited Iran at all, and has given the Europeans and Western countries the benefit of controlling and observing the Iranian activity on the nuclear issue. And now they are killing that JCPOA deal. And as I was saying, the Europeans are just stepping back from the deal now that they have benefited everything. They have had 5 years of monitoring and observing in the highest level of monitoring of the Iranian nuclear activities. And now that Iran is going to take the first benefit from that, because we have had no banking transactions or sanctions relieved because of the JCPOA. And now we are just approaching the first real and true outcome of the JCPOA. They are stopping that. They're postponing that. They're not allowing Iran to benefit from that. So that is something that the world understands. The countries understand that it is some sort of pressure on Iran, and they are not going to follow that easily, at least. Maybe the United States can bully other countries into extending the embargo or not getting involved in trade with Iran for a while, but in mid-term and long-term, it cannot continue like that. For sure, the countries understand. And as I said, the bullying power and the sanctions and the coercive measures can work to some extent. It has a limited power. We had about a month ago Iranian tankers going to Venezuela and selling Venezuelans gas oil and petroleum products. So the two countries who are both sanctioned cannot be sanctioned again. So there is the opportunity for Iran and many other countries, like, for example, Venezuela, Syria, Russia, Turkey, Iraq, Qatar, and some other countries that are under American sanctions, and they can work together without any chance of being re-sanctioned again. So Americans are giving this opportunity to Iran, and that's why I say that these coercive measures are not working anymore. We are going toward the break of the coercive measures, the break of the sanctions impact, and that's the moment that they cannot do anything. They will either get into a military step, or they should accept that Iran is going to play its own game and is to accept Iran as a regional power, at least, if even not a global player. They need to accept Iran as a regional power.
Thank you. Lastly, I would like you to comment on if Interpol doesn't entertain the Iranian request, what would be the next strategy of Iranian government?
As I said, Iran is not expecting the Interpol to make any arrest or do anything on the issue. The Interpol is expected to do that generally, and logically they need to do that because it is naturally their duty to act. But Iran is not expecting any acts, and as I said, Iran will focus on showing the world that how hypocritical and how with what double standards such organizations are working, and how bullying power of the United States is shaping the international organizations works around the world. We just had the reports from the IAEA, we had reports from the UN Secretary General, and all of them were impacted by US power and US pressure, actually, to be against Iran to some extent. So Iran is showing this illogical, irrational procedure in the world, and it proves how Iran was right in not taking foreign powers, not taking some international regulations in its performance. So even it can show, even it can justify if Iran wants to step back from the JCPOA, a step back from the NPT or additional protocol.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making the sense of all the situation that is going on between Iran and US and the recent developments. I would like you to lastly send a message to the world to stay at home and wash your hands and wear masks. And thank you so much, Hamid, for joining me today. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we would share our thoughts in the future. And see you, audience, next time with the next guest.
Thank you very much. I'm going to actually wear my mask right now in front of the camera to say people to wear masks and wash their hands and try to keep distance from other people, physically distancing to actually fight against this coronavirus.